Hello, and welcome to Beamer. Today, we'd like to dig a little deeper into Beamer technology. By the end of this session, you will understand why and how Beamer is for you, for life, for energy. And now the obligatory disclaimer. Beamer products are in no way a substitute for professional medical care. There are no medical claims being made from the use of these products. Statements made have not been evaluated by the FDA or other government agencies and are not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any medical conditions or diseases. It's recommended that you consult with your own physician or healthcare provider if you have any medical conditions. Beamer products are wellness and fitness systems. All information is for educational purposes only. With that said, I'd like to talk about what Beamer is. The goal of any therapy is always to seek first to do no harm and to support the body's natural ability to regulate itself. Looking at the cause is more logical than waiting until something breaks to fix it. However, most people go to see a doctor when they're sick or ill or develop symptoms, very much like this iceberg that we see here. The iceberg principle. We see symptoms. People don't come in and say, I have this diagnosis or that diagnosis, but really they come in with symptoms. I have pain, I have itching, I have swelling. Regardless of the symptom, it's important to look for the cause. When we look at the causes, the majority of dysfunction comes from circulatory dysfunction. Poor blood circulation, as you can see here, can lead to decreased oxygen and therefore low energy states within our cells. That means blood flow, or rather lack of blood flow, which then yields to hypoxia, low oxygen, and then bioenergetic deficiency, and that means low ATP. ATP, in short, is really the currency for energy in our body. This then affects us at a cellular level, at a tissue level, and then at an organ level, and ultimately back to symptomatic expression. What's the cause of most chronic disease? In the context of this slide, that means lack of regular exercise, poor breathing habits, physical, psychological stress, environmental stress, and poor eating habits. SAD stands for Standard American Diet. What's the common factor here? When we look at the common factor, it's poor circulation and limited oxygen availability, which leads to disrupted bioenergetics. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the term bioenergetics, bioenergetics is the study of the energy flow through living systems. That means how we take in energy, how we transform energy into a form that our bodies can use. When we have poor blood flow, low oxygen levels, and low energy, this is a recipe for disease. We really are very complex individuals. We have many systems which work in concert with one another to keep us alive. You can see that from all the systematic representations here. From that macrocosmic perspective, we can also get into a more organized state. Before we organize into systems, we have to understand that organization begins at a molecular level. Molecules are the building blocks for our cells, and cells are the building blocks for our tissues, and tissues make organs. Organs are the basis of the systems that we looked at. Everything in our body, in nature, is based on systems. In fact, in medical schools today, rather than teaching specific areas of pathology or biology, we look at systems biology, where you can combine the effects of the world and how we live our lives and how it manifests or relates to systems. When we look at humanity, we're a magnificent system, and it's comprised of specialized cells that do very specific things. Here you can see heart cells, brain cells, fat cells, nerve cells, red blood cells. All of these come from one single cell that we're birthed from. differentiating into the myriad of expressions based on functional needs. Cells need energy to survive. Oxygen is coming in, and carbon dioxide are the waste products that are being cleared. Think about this. You're only as healthy as what your cells can eliminate. Are you getting enough oxygen? Are you getting enough nutrients, number one? And is that cell functioning to clear out the waste materials? This moves then from a cellular level to a tissue level, all the way up to a systems level where you can say, oh, I'm sweating, or I have to go to the bathroom and urinate or defecate. This is happening at a cellular level as well. We call this cellular respiration. When we look back at the systems, I want to pay special attention or focus toward the one that's circled, and that's the circulatory system. I don't want to leave out the lymphatic system, which you see next to it, because the lymphatic and the circulatory system are intimately involved. You can look at your body a little like a hydraulic type of system. When we think of circulation, or in the sense of Beamer, as a vascular therapy, we think of something that has effect on the vessels or the circulatory system. Beamer is best known for positively affecting circulation through its effect on the smallest vessels. It's these small vessels within the vasculature which are embedded in organs, and these are responsible for the distribution of blood within tissues. If your blood is flowing properly, you're going to be healthy. Yet, getting blood supply to the tissues is the issue in many acute and chronic diseases. In short, healthy circulation is the cornerstone of health.
We have this image of a heart beating here. Really, the heart pumps about 8,000 to 12,000 liters of blood each day. That's the same 5 to 6 liters circulating over and over all day long, 24/7, when you look at it from that perspective.
The question you should ask yourself is this: can the small muscle of the heart manage pumping all of that blood alone? The answer is no. Nothing works by itself, and therefore the heart has helpers. These are every vessel that's interconnected to it and through it. It's at the level of the smallest vessels that the real action is taking place. Blood and its components, which include arterioles, capillaries, and venules. You have initial lymphatic vessels and collecting ducts, as well as interstitial spaces. That's the region in between cells and vessels. As I said before, we're basically a hydraulic system. It's at this vascular level that oxygen and nutrients are transferred to our cells. Waste products simply are removed. It's also at this interface where blood flow is controlled and regulated, feeding back localized information to the nervous system and ultimately back to the heart and vessels. This is just an image looking at all the components that are found within the vessel itself. We always focus on the vasculature, but what are these vessels for? They contain white blood cells, plasma, red blood cells, and this makes up blood. Blood and plasma which moves through these vessels. This is the highway to health, delivering nutrients to target tissues. When you look at this area where the circle is, that's where the business takes place. Here's a clear visual example of the micro or small vessel versus macro or large vessels in the human heart.
In the image to the left, you can see that these are vessels greater than 200 microns. When one looks at a CT scan, imaging, or angiogram of the heart, this is where blockages can be observed. But when we look at the microvessels on the right side, which are less than 200 microns, this is where the problem develops but is rarely ascertained or seen until it's already too late.
Until someone manifests a heart attack or myocardial infarction, for example. So it's really these microvessels that play a crucial and vital role in maintaining both structure and function within the entire body. In fact, The microcirculatory system makes up the largest part of the circulation system. Almost 75% of the vessels within your body are microcirculatory vessels. That means 3/4 of your circulatory system is comprised of these small vessels. Some of these are smaller than even the diameter of a strand of hair. When looking at this simple depiction of microcirculation, we can identify the vessels by both their size and function. Oxygenated blood travels in through the arteries. Oxygen is delivered to the capillary network via these arteries and arterioles, then gets smaller and smaller into the capillary beds. Then once it drops off oxygen and nutrients, waste products are picked up, and then deoxygenated blood is returned to the heart and the lungs via the venules and the veins. It's this transport phenomenon of material exchange between blood and tissues, as well as the first steps of cellular and humoral immune reactions. These are where it's focused in this area of the circulatory system. Let's take a look at how BEMER affects your circulation.
The role model for the BEMER signal is nature. In nature, there are no single frequencies. Rather, present always are several basic low and high frequencies. And so it is with the BEMER signal. BEMER utilizes a huge frequency spectrum in the lower frequency range, which provides the supporting mechanism for the BEMER therapy. This mechanism occurs at the level of vascular walls, or what we call the endothelium, within the arterioles and venules of our circulatory system.
The delivery of the signal is configured over 2-minute intervals for maximum effectiveness. This is how BEMER effectively stimulates vasomotion and therefore affects both systemic as well as local circulation.
The therapeutic window that stimulates the microvessels is quite complex. The smaller vessels were found to respond to frequencies between 28 and 33 Hz, and the therapeutic window for the larger caliber vessels were found to be in a range of between 8 and 12 Hz.
This is the manner in which BEMER effectively influences hemodynamics. And for those of you in the know, that's the way your blood flows. One of BEMER's main mechanisms of action directly influences the naturally occurring rhythmical variations in diameter of the blood vessels. What this means is there are autorhythmical pulsations that occur within both the smaller and larger caliber arterioles and venules, and this is independent of the heart rate, independent of the respiration rate, independent of cerebrospinal fluid flow rates. However, vasomotion is thought to be mediated by a balance of homeostatic mechanism of intricate communication between or via the nervous system and signaling molecules such as nitric oxide, which we know as a potent vasodilator. Healthy individuals may exhibit these vasomotor oscillations maybe 3 to 5 times per minute within the smaller caliber venules and arterioles. Yet the vaso-oscillating patterns of someone who is in a disease or dysfunctional state may be only 3 to 5 times over 5 or 10 minutes. And it's this dysfunction of the tonicity of the vessels that, if not found early enough, can then pathologically develop into quote unquote disease patterns. BEMER is the most effective and widely researched PEMF device available. When we look at one of these sequences of the microvessel in the intestinal area taken by Dr. Rainier Klopp from the Institute of Microcirculation in Berlin, this is regular, spontaneous vasomotion, so this is normal. This is not with use of BEMER or any other pulse electromagnetic field device. And you can see here that the blood is flowing functionally. But what I want you to spend really a lot of attention on is to look at the changes in variable of the flow pattern as well as the diameter. And you can see a pattern starting, and you're going to almost see this vibrating in 3, 2, 1. you literally see this start to vibrate, oscillating, even to the point where the blood is in a backflow, going to the opposite direction than it was. This is the body's unique way of shunting and moving blood where it needs to go based on metabolic needs. It's important to know that BEMER doesn't just affect what's in the vessel, but it affects what's in the vessel simultaneously with the vessel itself. So the white blood cells, the red blood cells, the components of the blood are affected, as well as these areas of the endothelial wall. Remember it from this perspective: our circulatory system, supply, and disposal. You have oxygen and nutrients coming in, carbon dioxide and waste products being removed. If you cannot bring in nutrients and clear out waste products, again, this is a recipe for disease. It makes perfect sense to me to identify these issues and address them rather than waiting until symptoms develop. This is a general blood flow video that I want you to look at. This was also taken with intravital microscopy. This is looking at poor blood flow or dysfunctional blood flow. You can see on the left side there, those are red blood cells barely pumping through. You can see on the right side, every once in a while, a white blood cell will slowly roll by versus functional blood cell flow, as you can see here. Look at the blood flowing on the left and also flowing on the right, with those white blood cells rolling over the endothelial wall. And they do this because BEMER also supports ICAM1, or intercellular adhesion molecule 1, which is involved with the mobility of white blood cells. So again, poor or limited circulation versus good or significantly improved circulation. Simply put, BEMER is the most researched PEMF system on the market today. And while BEMER does use a PEMF as a carrier wave for delivering its patented waveform or signal, the field itself is not the sole substance that elicits the complex physiological effects. In fact, BEMER chose to use a PEMF because of its deep penetrance and overall safety. BEMER is a bright technology, an ingenious solution to a systemic problem. Yes, there's a known problem with circulation in the body. The leading cause of death in the United States or any developed country is cardiovascular disease. What if we could identify at an early stage dysfunction rather than waiting for someone to have a heart attack? Not to say BEMER is a primary prevention in that way, but it certainly helps to lend a helping hand to the heart. BEMER didn't just pop out of nowhere. You may have heard of an organization called NASA. They've been researching ways to maintain healthy physiology for their astronauts who have gone to space and returned with many ill effects. Some of these ill effects can take weeks, months, or years, or in some cases, never recover. For example, NASA's been especially interested in using PEMF, pulse electromagnetic fields, as countermeasures for bone loss and muscle atrophy. BEMER has been working with NASA under a Space Act agreement since February of 2015. As a part of this research and development project, NASA has chosen BEMER as a cooperation partner for the development of undergarments of spacesuits with coils to support countermeasures for muscle atrophy and bone degeneration. And it's this joint venture that's paving the way for the integration of BEMER technology into human spaceflight, as well as exit preparation and re-entry regeneration. But it's not just any PEMF device or any waveform that works to elicit desired physiological effects, such as those sought by NASA scientists. There's important parameters that involve the wave shape or waveform used, the intensity or the flux density of the field, and the frequency. BEMER's patented waveform is the most researched and scientifically studied PEMF application available today. Again, all PEMF devices are not created equal. First and foremost, because of the type of signal or waveform that is used. It matters. It's important. It's this spectrum of frequencies and timely variations of the electromagnetic field that interact with our cells to give rise to the desired physiological effects. This Beamer signal that you see was created in 1998, and its application has been evolving ever since. The Beamer signal is a multidimensional, complex sinusoidal waveform. And when delivered in a proprietary manner of frequencies and timely variations, this signal triggers the activation of vasomotion, which then enhances circulation systemically as well as microscopically, as well as increasing energy production or ATP. What you see here is an example of different wave patterns which have been utilized by traditional PEMF devices. You have the sinusoidal, the trapezoid, triangle or sawtooth wave, and these are all traditional PEMF therapy devices. Their pulses only reach a certain segment of cell frequencies. Look to the right and notice the broad range of the Beamer waveform or the wave pattern. This patented waveform reaches millions of cells within the body and has a systemic effect even where the field is not actively interfacing with those tissues. This study is looking at a comparison of various PEMF systems. Various devices were taken, 5 different devices here, and they were studied over a short period here of a few days, activating and using the PEMF devices on the subjects. You can see Beamer, which is the control in orange, outperform from day 1. And I mean drastically outperform. We're looking at changes in oxygenation or perfusion of vessels. This study is looking specifically at microcirculation. Interestingly enough, even after the 3rd day, when the devices were turned off and subjects were not using the Beamer nor other devices, as you can see, the figures indicate the effectiveness dropped down to 0 functionality. Beamer at its lowest, where it wasn't even being used or turned on, was still higher than the maximum of the best device, which you can see there, test device 4, for example. What does this tell you? This tells you that this device works and works well, and there are no comparisons. In addition to the signal and the waveform, the Beamer has a unique electromagnetic field distribution, and this enables the device to affect multiple cellular processes simultaneously. While Beamer does exhibit multiple effects, the Beamer PEMF has a profound effect on the hemodynamics, or how the blood flows. Think about this when we think about systems. How does blood supply affect the digestive, respiratory, reproductive, and skeletal systems? Every system in the body is dependent upon blood flow and energy. Energy is a component of life that is vital and necessary. Without it, your tissues and cells don't work. From an inductive effect, you can think of Beamer acting almost like a battery. A cell membrane has a charge consisting of a negative and a positive side. When cells begin to become dysfunctional, their membrane, just like a battery, will start to decrease. Well, what do? Do we plug ourselves into the wall? No, we certainly don't do that. But we can use an activation energy like Beamer to inductively stimulate that cell membrane potential while simultaneously triggering the circulation, which then fuels and feeds our tissues. It's a double-edged type of deal when you're using Beamer. It's not just the body that has effects from PEMF. The entire universe is affected by electromagnetic energy.
In fact, our Earth has a geomagnetic field. On the Earth, as we spin around our axis at 10,000 miles per hour and 67,000 miles per hour around the Sun, we of course generate a field. That field is called the geomagnetic field. This supports us and protects us from detrimental effects that can be caused by ionizing radiation from the Sun.
We've also evolved with this geomagnetic field, which ranges from about 40 to 60 microtesla at various places on the Earth. Think of your cells synchronizing to the heartbeat of the Earth. When you go away from the Earth, up into a plane or into outer space, This is one of the reasons why the cells and the body do not function properly.
When we look at the heart, we see that it also has a magnetic and electric field. When we look at the electric field of the heart versus the brain, it's over 60 times more powerful than the brain, and the magnetic component is 5,000 times more than the brain. That's amazing.
Therefore, it's not necessarily what's between our ears which runs our life. It's that which comes and exists in the center of our being. Did you know that the Earth's magnetic resonances vibrate at the same frequency as our own heart rhythms and brain waves? Did you also know that a mother's brain waves can synchronize to her baby's heartbeat? This is true. Even each one of us, we might get a vibe or a feeling. We are also emitting and receiving information, electromagnetic information. The Beamer signal is an energy solution for our regulatory systems. This increases the potential health, wellness, and balance within our beings. In short, when we look at what electromagnetism is, there's a broad range of electromagnetism, and all EMF is not bad. But conversely, all EMF is not good. You have to look at what's involved here. It's not just about ionizing or gamma rays with the tightness or the negative effects of these X-rays, for example, as you see here, gamma rays or microwave radiation. It also has to do with the information delivered. When we look at the information delivered, think of Beamer as a song, gentle, safe to use. The intensity of the song is your volume. And as you're able to utilize this, it takes the information and transfers it to the body, which then responds accordingly. This is a positive outcome versus when you input information, say from a cell phone, a microwave, or from a high-tension power lines. These would be supplying negative information, which would then have a reactionary or a negative effect. The Beamer has a rhythm giver. We call this the plus signal. The plus signal is delivered every 20 seconds, and it increases to a high intensity so as to change the flux and the time variation. For example, if you're delivering a level 1 at 3.5 microtesla and then do the plus signal, then you're putting 35 microtesla into the body every 20 seconds. That changes the variance of the field or the intensity. And this is one of the ways, or one of the acute ways, the Beamer has a physiological effect on the body. Those delivery systems that have a high peak and a low fall, or a fast peak to fall value, these are what have the most profound effects. So we're supporting the body to have more energy, to have more strength, and for the mind to become more focused. There have been multiple generations of Beamer, but the current generation, the Beamer 3.0, offers more stimulus, more specific frequency variations along a specific timeline, as well as the plus signal, that rhythm giver. Studies have shown that people that have been using the Beamer have effects that can last 12 to 18 hours. Not everyone has the same outcomes, but the delivery of the proprietary waveform, as well as the time variations and the signal variations, are the key components to this newest generation Beamer and its profound effects. You don't have to be a sick person to have a positive response to Beamer vascular therapy. Many athletes continue to use Beamer to enhance their performance and decrease recovery time. Think about this.
The faster you can regenerate, the better you can recover.
The more efficient you are at repairing your tissue, the better you will perform. You know, Beamer application really shines in the field of rehab or rehabilitation. Using Beamer consistently delivers shorter regenerations and recovery periods, as well as a decreased risk of injury. Beamer can also be used to enhance performance capacity. While Beamer is not used to treat any diseases, it can be used as an adjunct application to support healthy circulation. and it's become a go-to therapy for many physicians, clinicians, and healthcare providers worldwide. The use of Beamer can support self-regulatory mechanisms, improve the effects of medication or nutraceuticals, and their delivery by enhancing their bioavailability and overall increase health and wellness. Beamer also has the capacity to reduce the effects of stress and support or modulate regulatory processes. You know, I say 50 plus here, and I don't like to focus on age with people, but as we get older, we notice that we don't recover or regenerate as fast as we did when we were younger. For those of you over 50 out there listening, you'll be happy to know that many Beamer users experience improved cognition and greater capacity to perform. Think about this when you think about what blood flow does to brain activity or what blood flow does to physical activity for men or women. Again, prophylaxis or prevention is the key to living a long quality life. It's not just working with something that's already broken. For me, this is key. If we're sleeping well, we're allowing our body to detoxify naturally. Beamer has been shown to play a crucial role in prevention. As we increase perfusion of blood and therefore nutrients and oxygen, we have improved energy production and a more optimally functioning self-regulatory system. Everything, again, back to systems. Beamer also has a direct effect on the function of the immune system by enhancing the role action of white blood cells through the upregulation of ICAM-1, or the intercellular adhesion molecule 1. This not only reduces your susceptibility to infections, but can also strengthen your body's physical defenses. In addition to focusing on circulation in our waking hours, Beamer recognizes the vital effect of appropriate blood flow in our resting states as well. So the Beamer Sleep program was added as an option with the Pro and the Classic systems. The diurnal variations in our sleep-wake cycles are governed by circadian rhythms, and these play a vital role in maintaining homeostasis and health. The crucial elements of microcirculation are differently distributed in the regenerative stage.
It's important to know also that the Beamer Sleep program operates at level 2, which is 7 microtesla, and it's only on for 2 hours when you fall asleep. Then it goes off. 2 hours before you're scheduled to wake up, it comes on slowly and brings your body back into functional blood flow to get ready for the active part of your day.
This is a quote by Plato. It says, "The part can never be well unless the whole is well." Back to systems, holism. It's not just looking at holistic medicine, but looking at what are we a part of and how does that affect us internally as well as externally. We have to move away from this idea that we can treat dysfunction or disease by focusing our attention on the parts or the symptoms. It's like focusing one's attention on the leaves of a dying tree rather than addressing the soil and the roots. We must move forward to a more holistic view. This is important within our personal lives, our families, our community, our tribe, city, state, country, and ultimately as a global movement. Beamer therapy is designed to be used to enhance general blood flow, the body's nutrient and oxygen supply, as well as waste removal, cardiac function, physical fitness, endurance, strength and energy, concentration, mental acuity, reduction of stress and relaxation, sleep management. Simply put, movement is life. If you're perfused, you're protected. Healthy blood flow is directly relevant to how your body can move and groove and operate within the general environment. So if it's cold outside, the blood should quicken and enhance. If it's warm, the blood should come to the surface so it can release heat. The blood flow is a dynamic process that is intimately involved in our everyday life, whether we're aware of it or not. For those of you who are looking for further, more in-depth research on Beamer, I would invite you to go to www.pubmed.gov and just punch in Beamer therapy and take a look at some of the publications. Thank you for your presence and attention.